Hello and welcome to Photography 101. My name is Ben Thompson. I'm going to be presenting this session today, and this is for Jota Jotai 2022. So let's get into it. The full name of this session is Photography 101, How to Inspire the World Through Pictures. I think this is a super important topic, especially as almost every one of us has some form of camera, whether that's on your phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, or a standalone camera. So I think this is a great topic for us to not only promote scouting as a whole and gain more reach and get more people to know about scouting, as well as for you to learn more, as this can be a very great hobby, as well as a profession that you can go into as a job. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm gonna be splitting this session into a few different points. First, it's gonna be the introduction. Next is gonna be skills. Then we're gonna go into tips that I have as a professional photographer. Then we're gonna talk about safe from harm. And lastly, we're going to be talking about how you can share the photos that you create with the world. Let's get into our introduction. Who am I? Well, my name is Ben Thompson. I come from the United States. I'm an Eagle Scout, which is the highest rank in the Boy Scouts of America that you can achieve. And I've been scouting for almost all my life at this point. And I'm right now in university, so that has been over 15 years of my life. I'm also heavily involved in scouting still at the World Organization of the Scouting Movement as a social media volunteer. And I am a content creator for my university. So that means I get to share moments at my university through either taking videos or taking photos and posting them online. So the objective of this session is to show how anyone can take great photos with any device and skill level. This is not rocket science. We can all start taking photos, and I know it might be a little intimidating when you see a professional photographer taking photos at the same place that you're taking photos. But with any skill level, you can start taking photos and eventually get to become a professional. So why is photography important? I think this is a really important subject for a few reasons. First off, it's a universal language. Anyone can take a photo and anyone from around the world can see that photo, and they don't need to know that person's language in order to see what that person took. This is a great way to communicate through the World Organization for the Scouting Movement and different scouting organizations around the world, because you don't need to know each other's native language in order to share concepts. It can preserve history. A lot of the most important events in history have been documented through photographs. And that is really important as we continue to learn from past events to help other people. So being able to document things both locally, nationally, and globally is really important for all of us, whether this is a thing you do professionally or as just a normal, regular person. It can show powerful emotion. Everyone knows the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that phrase really is, pictures can take a moment in time and really encapsulate the people or the place or the thing that you're photographing, what the emotion is in it. And I think that's very powerful. And lastly, makes stories come to life. Some of the most impactful stories have some sort of photos connected into them that really do make those stories more impactful to other people around the world. So let's get into some photography skills. This is really just skimming the surface today of different techniques that you can use to get better at photography. But these are some of the skills that I think really apply to anyone, regardless of uh, your past experience as a photographer. So first off, context. This skill really is an important skill as a photographer. When you're taking a photo, you should be mindful of who you're taking a photo of or what you're taking a photo of. And make sure that if someone who has no context or doesn't know anything about the photo you're taking before they look at it, make sure they are able to identify what you're trying to show them. You should also be aware of trying to give some context of where the photo is taken, whether or not it's on a mountain or at it in your city or in your town. Why you're taking the photo. Show some actions. Show something that is important and that you want to share with the world. And generally, the last part is when you took the photo. So giving some context whether or not that's in the photo itself or maybe in a description of the photo, just so then people have context to whatever you're taking a photo of when that happened. Next skill is leading lines. Now, this is a little bit more advanced as a photography skill, but I think this is a really important skill for us to talk about. So leading lines is the concept of you want to draw someone's attention in by creating lines in your photo to help guide their eyes to see what you want them to see. So in these photos, I'm going to hopefully use this pen tool. Let's see if I can use it and you can see it. So in these photos, there are leading lines, these lines that are drawing you in to the center of the photo. You can see. And this concept is really good to use, especially if you have a very wide angle where you're trying to get a lot of things into a one single picture to help create depth of your photo and show how large an area really is. You can see with how far this road goes over here, that's a really far ways because you can see those lines going from really big into a very small area. All right, next concept is framing. So framing is a great way to take away space that is unused in a photo. So for instance, over here, this was taken at Disney World a few years ago by myself. You can see how I used a railing to take away some of this area that wasn't really being used to make sure that you could see the castle in the background. Also, over on the left-hand side, with this dolphin, I used right here, the tree area to cut off some of the bottom of the frame to kind of give some context to where this was taking place. So let's now go on to some tips that I have for everyone, whether you're a new photographer or you're an experienced photographer. First off, equipment doesn't matter. I personally now mostly use my phone for a lot of the content that I create. And I think that's really important. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a great camera in order to get some great photos. Now, obviously, equipment does help. But I think that a lot of professional photographers will try to scare people off by saying that you need a really expensive camera in order to take great photos. And especially nowadays with how great cameras and phones have become, you really don't need a standalone camera in order to take great photos. Next tip I have is try different types of photography. So you can become a portrait photographer or take portraits of people. This, for instance, is my sister. Maybe you don't like taking pictures of people. That's completely fine. You can be an event photographer. So I was event photographer for the 24th World Scout Jamboree in West Virginia in 2019. And that was a great experience. You get a lot of action there. And maybe you like being a sports photographer, or just being a photographer for your scout troop in general. The different types of photography are practically endless. So if you don't like one type, you can try another. I have a few types of photography that I personally don't care for, but that's okay. So try the different types of photography, find what you enjoy the most, or find that you might not like one type of photography, and then just find more opportunities to do what you enjoy doing. Next is angles. I think this is one of the easiest tips to really elevate the quality of photos you're taking. So angles are what position you're taking a photo in. So a lot of people will just take photos when they're standing up and shooting directly, or taking a picture directly of whatever they're wanting to take a picture of, straight on. And sometimes that works, but sometimes you might want to consider getting down at a lower angle and taking a picture upwards to create some scale. That's what I did over here with Batman. I got down on the ground and shot upwards to give him a little bit more depth and make him look taller. And over here, I got down to be level with the fountain to give it, make it look bigger. So that's something to consider. Where get up high, get down low, shoot it off to the side, go left or go right of something, and see how that impacts the image you're taking. And lastly, keep on taking photos. I've been a photographer for close to half of my life now, so that's over 10 years. So obviously I pride myself in being a pretty decent photographer. I'm not the best by any means, but just remember that maybe your photos are, you might think that your photos are not as good as other people, and that's okay, because we all started at the same spot. We all started without being professional photographers. So the only way to become better at taking photos and grow at this skill is by taking more and more photos. And especially with it being all digital now, you can practically take unlimited photos and keep on practicing these skills. Let's now talk about safe from harm. So especially when we're taking photos as a part of scouting, we have to be very mindful of safe from harm to protect the people that we are surrounded by, as well by protecting ourselves. So before I go talk about this graphic, if you haven't yet, make sure that you read up on the safe from harm guides that you can find on scout.org to make sure that you protect yourself, especially if you're under the age of 18 on the internet. So a few things to consider when you're taking photographs as a part of a scouting event. Number one, make sure that you get the consent from everyone that you're taking pictures of. So make sure that everyone is okay with their picture being taken. Another thing to consider is make sure that the people that you're taking photos of, if they are a youth, that you try to make sure that you're not taking anything that is inappropriate, anything that could get them in danger. So information about where they live or their full names, where people can use that maliciously or to try to harm that person. And just be mindful of the context of the photo that you're taking, and whether or not you can show that context properly. because sometimes you will know what the photo is supposed to mean, but if someone else who has no understanding of what it's supposed to mean, if it could be taken the wrong way, you might consider not using that photo. So always make sure that you're when you're taking photos that you're being nice to the people who are you're taking photos of. Make sure that you're not getting a bad photo of them. Keep personal information private. Be mindful of where you're sharing that photo, whether or not the people in that photo are okay with you sharing it publicly, or maybe you would rather keep that photo private to your inner, whether or not in your troop or just with the people that are in the photo. So I could go on for a lot longer about how to make sure that you stay safe while taking photos. But I think that is a additional resource that you should look into as and more in depth on your own. As I think I can only cover so much in this short amount of time. So how can you share photos? So fortunately, in the time we're living now, sharing photos are really easy through social media. So with social media, you can use any type of social media platform, whether or not it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or a couple more regional social media websites. But when you're using those social media platforms, you need to be considerate of the reach that you're getting. How many people are going to see this? Again, getting back to safe from harm principles. And when you're on social media, you have to be mindful of people's age that you're interacting with. For instance, as I am an adult over the age of 18, when I'm on social media, I have to make sure that if I am private messaging someone, that that person is over the age of 18 if they're it's a scouting related activity, and if not, you have to make sure that you have another adult in the conversation. So if you're an adult, make sure that you're never one-on-one contact with a youth. And you, as a youth, if an adult tries to reach out to you as a scouting through scouting on social media, make sure that you have another adult present. So there's always two adults whenever you're going through online messaging. So then you can keep yourself safe. And if you find an adult leader that is trying to message you one-on-one inappropriately, or is not taking the safe from harm steps seriously, make sure to report that through to the safe from harm team. So sharing in social media, even though what I just said is kind of scary, social media is a great way to stay connected. I'm connected with people from over 75 countries and that I know of, but also all around the world, and close to the 172 countries that make up the World Organization for the Scouting Movement. So you can engage and make friends all over the world through online for free. So share your photos, give context, share what you're passionate about, and you can grow your own personal image through photography and through sharing your stories on social media. So if you have any questions, unfortunately, this is going to be not a live session. This is going to be an on-demand session. So you can reach out to me through Instagram. That's my primary platform. Remember, since I'm over the age of 18, anytime that you're messaging me directly, you have to also include in that chat the World Scouting, as that will be monitored by another adult. So then we can keep safe from harm in mind. So If you also have any questions and you don't feel comfortable with messaging myself, you can also message World Scouting, and they'll do their best to also assist answering your question. We're wrapping up the session, so if you have any input, make sure for the session review form, my code is YHZGH, and please give any feedback, anything you liked, anything you want to learn more about, and hopefully in the future we can do another session addressing any of those outstanding questions. Thank you guys so much for joining today, and I hope to see you guys on the web sharing the information